All right, guys, you're here with Josh Thomson. I'm going to give you my punk's opinion on a couple things. I know we're a little late on this whole Conor Khabib suspension talk. We're going to pull up kind of what they got. Can you pull it up, Dave? And kind of see what their suspension was. I believe Conor got $50,000 fine, 6 months, and then Khabib got 9 months, $500,000 fine. I believe that I was watching kind of like the Ariel Helwani show. I'm going to give you kind of like just my 2 cents on the whole deal. So my 2 cents on the whole deal is I thought they kind of got it right. I mean, I believe the only thing I think that they got wrong was the suspensions of Zubaya and Manap. I thought those suspensions should have been less. Just my personal opinion. Obviously, producer Dave over here, he actually thinks that they should have been more, and he kind of agrees with Ariel Helwani. And that was it. I don't. Let's get into the Conor first. The Conor suspension to me was perfect. 6 months. I could have seen it maybe being equally to Khabib's of 9 months. Maybe Khabib's could have been a full year. I mean, you can give and take like a couple months. But let's be realistic. He's not going to fight till after Ramadan anyways on Khabib, so it doesn't really make a difference. I mean, by the time he gets through Ramadan and gets into a camp, it'll probably be about a year anyways. So they could have suspended him for a year and people would have been like, yeah, he got a fucking year. Yeah, he really wouldn't have made a difference because he's not going to fight till after Ramadan anyways. That being said, with the Conor thing, 6 months, I mean, it's fair. It's legit. I mean, I could have seen him getting the 9 months, maybe a little bit stiffer of a fine for contributing to being one of the guys. To me, when you go back and watch the video, he throws the first punch against Manap on the fence. Manap wasn't even really, he was up on the top of the fence. He shouldn't have been there. I understand the suspension for it. He shouldn't have been there. But, I mean, you got to understand how the Russians work with, and I call them the Russians. I mean, you guys got to remember, though, too, is I'm not going to be biased in this one here. I'm being very upfront with you, even though I do train with them. They are very close with me. We actually, talk and communicate quite a bit through, through FaceTime and things like that. But just to be clear, like he should have been up on the fence. He should have probably been part of it. But they are such a close-knit family. They believe in really, truly, being there for each other. It's not just a fucking hashtag, in Twitter and in IG that they actually they believe this. They if Khabib jumps in there, they're all jumping in there. If Manap jumps in there, they all jump in there. It doesn't make a difference. Zuba, does the same thing. So all these things being said, look, the suspension for Khabib, $500,000 to me was stiff, man. That's pretty stiff. I could have got behind, $250,000. I could have got behind that. I could have got behind the year suspension, but the only reason why I say I could have got behind that is because I know he's probably not going to fight till after Ramadan, which leaves you basically right back at a year.
9 months, not a year.
Yeah, I know. But I'm saying though is that it could have been up to a year. And he's not going to fight anyways. 9 months puts him right around Ramadan, which means he's not fighting during that time anyways. So that being said, a year just would have made, to me, I would have been like, okay, cool, whatever, same thing.
But
and everyone would, huh?
If he does PSA, he can take 3 months off it.
Yeah, I don't think he will. Just my personal opinion. I mean, he really, I think in his the way he's been talking, that it's not really. He feels that the way that Dylan Donis was talking to him and his teammates, that it was all it was all justified. And do I feel that Dylan kind of overstepped his boundary? Of course I do. And especially in this type of, I guess, in this climate of what's going on between Muslims and and
the rest of the world.
And the rest of the world, I think it's understandable to feel, I think, the way that Khabib probably, to me, it was justified of what he did. Because, look, even though, I'm trying to say this very, not delicately, but I'm trying to put it to where it makes sense. You have to, I look at it probably like, I think that it gets to a point when you continuously stereotype or categorize certain people into an area that they feel like they need to stick up. No, they just need to stick up for themselves. And when they stick up for themselves, we say, "See, I told you." And knowing Khabib, knowing Zuba, knowing Abu Bakr and Islam and the other Islam and all the other Russians that come, I think that it's finally just it hit a boiling point. It's hit a boiling point that, as they get up closer to the top, which now Khabib is 27-0 and the lightweight world champion, it's come to a head where just people have continuously all the way up have just talked about him and the guys that, and his brothers and all the guys that he trains with and just Muslims in general. I think that he finally got to a boiling point. And when you get somebody like Conor, you get somebody like Dylan Dennis, they're going to say whatever it is they can say to get into your head. But what you have to remember is that different areas of the world, they don't take certain things like this kindly. And this is not just a job for them. And the things that you say to them is not just, they're not just going to forget it. Sure, it's freedom of speech. Sure, you should be able to say whatever you want to say to people, and they should be able to just shrug it off. But I think it'd be one thing if it's like, hey, it's me and you at school, and you say, yeah, you're an idiot, and I got to shrug that off. Or, you call me something, and you say something, that's different. But everywhere they go, everywhere that they walk, around this world, people are like, oh, you're Muslim. And there's an automatic stereotype with that. And having to get through it, look, I can't speak on that too much, but I just can say that having to get through it, I'm sure it gets taxing and it gets on you, and it starts testing your patience, starts testing, who you are. And I think this was the boiling point of all this. I think they're sick and he was obviously sick and tired of hearing Dylan Dennis's voice and the things he had to say along with Conor's. And look at the things that Conor said at the press conference. Now, we've heard with the commission that the commission is going to try to maybe regulate what they say, and it just it's insane. Oh, now you're going to start saying that, oh, I hurt your feelings, so now I completely 100% agree with Dana White on this. And if we can actually, can I hear what he said?
Yeah.
You can legally do that?
Or fights, and fights, I guess, in response to the McGregor and Khabib stuff. Just want to get your thoughts on that. Can they do that?
Nope.
I think it's crazy.
Yeah.
I think it's insane. I think it's unconstitutional, first of all. I don't think you can legally do that. These guys get into a cage and they punch each other in the face. They can knock each other unconscious. They can choke each other, but they can't say mean things to each other.
Makes perfect sense.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, I have to 100% agree with Dana. Like it's going to be so hard to regulate. And then how are you going to regulate that?
Which words?
Yeah. Like, oh, you can't say the F word, or oh, you can't talk. What are you gonna say? You can't talk about religion. You can't talk about politics. You can't talk about someone's mother. What are you gonna? How are you gonna regulate it?
Yeah.
You're gonna say, and then look, emotions get flowing, and then when you get to the press conferences and people are talking trash, and we saw it, I think, in the past with Kevin Lee and Michael Chiesa. I think there was talk or conversation about like his mom or something like that. And just it boiled over. And look, you're going to settle your differences in the cage. And that's what it comes down to. And, and Khabib carried it over into the cage when he was fighting with Conor, and he said, come on, let's talk. Let's, you like to talk. Let's talk. And Conor's like, hey, it's business. And that's true. And to take to Conor's side, it's true. It's just business. But not everyone looks at it as business, and we saw that with Khabib. We saw that, with the other guys that he trains with. Now, to get back to the punishments, I don't agree with Ariel Helwani at all. That their punishments should have been more. I don't agree with that at all. I think their punishments should have been basically the same as Khabib's, if not a little bit less. Let's not forget, if you go back and watch the video, Zuba circled around towards Conor. Conor threw the first punch against him. They actually kind of both threw punches together at the same time. It really comes down to, look, you're in my range, and you're not a nice person. You said all these things about me and my religion, and it's just funny how they both threw a punch at the same time. So if that's the case, And it wasn't like Zuba wasn't his corner. Zuba was his corner. It wasn't like he came from the stands and jumped up in there. And Abu Bakr, the same thing. Both in his corner. So it wasn't like as if they came from the stands and came down to fight. It wasn't that. They're there to be there for their... That's what corners are for. Now, this dude in the red, I have no idea. I know who he is, but I'm saying, like, he didn't get suspended.
But he's not in the UFC, is he?
No, but neither is Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr is with the PFL. So if you're a fighter, a licensed fighter somewhere, and then you'll get suspended basically. So once one commission, the state of Nevada suspends him, other commissions will say, well, we're probably not going to license you either. Especially like a state like Nevada. Nevada's a big state. Like if it was a small state of, say, like, let's just say Kansas, or something that had a small commission. I don't even know if Kansas has a commission. That's, but I'm saying, like, if it was something like that, they're going to be like, okay, well, what were you suspended for? And, other commissions may not follow suit. But if when a commission like Las Vegas or California or New York or Chicago, or Illinois suspends you, then they're going to basically turn around and just honor those other states as well.
They're also saying that Dylan Dennis will face punishment later.
Yeah, I'm sure he will.
He was didn't do a single thing.
Part of the altercation, buddy. Look at you sticking up for your people.
He was a victim of the situation.
A victim, huh?
He was a victim of Khabib.
So I actually truly believe, dude, there is consequences for the shit you say. And when you're going to run your mouth, you should expect to get fucking Air Jordan on.
Doesn't he have
just my personal thing?
Any of his guys in Bellator, though?
Who gives a fuck?
Where they could just set up a fight? Why not just set up a fight?
With who?
Like Dylan Dennis and one of Khabib's teammates? Is there any of them?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Those are your people.
Those are my people.
Those are your people, man.
What,
Dylan Dennis hangs out with like your kind of crew, right? Like the Scottish.
Dylan Dennis is in Bellator?
Scottish/Irish people. Like, isn't that like your crew? Aren't you guys all kind of stick together? I watched Braveheart, bro.
No, I just understand the situation properly. That Conor didn't do a thing until.
Look at you already saying the word properly because you're a proper whiskey guy, huh? Look at that. I see how you are.
So
Look at that. Look at that.
Hey, you're a typical liberal, man.
Oh, a liberal.
Just trying to change the subject.
You must have me mistaken.
Just trying to change the subject.
You have me mistaken for Sammy,
bro. Trying to sway me away from the actual point.
Man, well, your boy Connor over here, your boy. He, he threw some punches. He got the suspension. Look, 6 months is nothing. The $50,000 fine is a drop in the bucket for the guy. I think the fine for Khabib was definitely too much. It should have been about $250. But just so you guys, I want to touch back on this. When they first hit that week, when the dust had all settled after this, it was a week after all this had happened. The first 2 weeks, I was talking with some of the commission people, and they were saying that they were looking at a 1.5 to 2 year suspension, like an 18-month suspension, and $1 million fine. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But then now as we got further away and the emotions and have kind of been separated, and it's far enough in the past that everyone's kind of like, let their dust settle in their head and their emotions, and they're like, okay, look, what are we going to do with this? But I feel like the $500,000 against Khabib was a money grab. It's a money grab for the commission. The commission's like, look, let's make some money off this shit.
The other thing I was going to ask you, I don't know if it's a stupid question, but does the commission
If you have to ask if it's a stupid question, it's probably a stupid question.
I'm as an ignorant MMA fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No different than me with the WWE, bro.
Yeah, there you go. So, does the commission can they charge more money if it's a higher profile show? You know what I'm saying?
No.
So are they motivated to make the suspension smaller to have these guys back in the cage sooner?
No, I think what they do is my honest opinion is they base it off of kind of like what your paycheck was. So that once they know what you can afford based off of what you made, they do it based off of that kind of percentage. But Khabib made good money.
Show, but I mean, for a future show, so does the commission make their money through sanctioning certain big profile fights? Can they make more money? They'll make. Because what I'm trying to say is that by giving them a smaller suspension, they know Conor's now going to be back in the cage in 6 months' time, making.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? That's a good thing. I actually I'll probably look that up and see how much money they make based off of the higher profile fights. That's something I gotta do. I actually gotta look that up. do they make more money based off the more high-profile fights? I do know that more revenue comes into the city, obviously. Yeah. I really couldn't tell you. I would imagine that they get a certain percentage off of maybe the gate, or I don't even know if it's off. It wouldn't be off the gate. It would be I don't know. I really have to look it up. I don't want to speak without actually knowing on that.
Because you see what they did for John Jones as well, where California sanctioned him after the picogram thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but after talking with Andy Foster last week and having the conversation, I kind of understand why they did what they did. Andy's like, look, I can't charge him with anything new based off of even the VADA testing or the VADA testing and the and the USADA testing. He's like, I can't charge him with anything new. He's like, so the fact that I can't charge him with the fact that he hasn't re-administered any drugs, what am I going to charge him with? He's like, I have to have a new charge to go with it. I was like, yeah. I said, well, why can't you just charge him for having steroids in his system again? He's like, but it's the same steroids. I'm like, well, that's the consequences of having taken those, And so that's a whole different story. But I don't know. I'll have to look it up and see if they get paid more based off of a more high profile fight. Obviously, they want to have the more high-profile fights there for a reason in Las Vegas. The Manny Pacquiao's, the Mayweather fights, and all those type of things. I really couldn't tell you, though, to be honest, like if they make more money based off of the higher-profile fights. But it does make sense. It does make sense on why they would give smaller fines. But look, Khabib's huge. But he's already now come out and said, because you suspended my teammates for so long, I'm not fighting in Las Vegas anymore. I'm just going to tell you now, like, people think that Conor McGregor is a fucking star. Like, there is no way of looking around it. He's a fucking star. The thing is, though, is that people underestimate how much of a star Khabib is. They're like, oh, he's not. They give that stereotype of that, like, that people aren't going to, like, wherever he's from, are not going to watch. Where he's from Russia, he's from Dagestan, they're not going to watch him fight. Bullshit. They're not going to watch him fight. I mean, I've seen that guy, and I know, and I always hate to start a conversation of, oh, this guy has this many followers. But dude, when you got that many people following you, like you're a star. I want to say he's at some ridiculous amount of like 25 million or something.
On Instagram?
Something. I think maybe just total. I don't know.
I don't think he's got that. I think he's at like 15.
Oh, my bad. Now we're just splitting hairs. 15 million. Anyways.
14.
14 million. On just Instagram. Okay, but look, my point is, I hate to start up the conversations like that but it does make a difference. It truly does. We live in a land of social media. You've seen what these guys, some of these hip hop stars, these Tekashi 6ix9ine and all these guys are fucking multi-millionaires, based off of, their social media platforms. So I think that, and I can't fucking stand that guy. But it's like, hey, they're doing something right. They're doing something that, people have followed suit to. With Khabib, I think that the fine was too much. I don't think we'll see him fight in Vegas again. I think like he's a man of his word. I don't think he will fight in Vegas again. He will fight in New York. They've got a huge Russian population there, and I think he enjoys fighting in New York. It's also probably less of a flight for him. So,
and California.
Huh?
And for any fights in California?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Maybe he'll fight in California. I'd love to see him fight in San Jose, or I'd like to see him fight in, Los Angeles, LA, the Staples Center, things like that. So I think they do it based off of the Russian population. If you've noticed, we've always continuously go with Bellator, with Fedor. We've always gone to New York, Chicago, and LA just with Fedor. We don't go to really any other cities with him because we know the fans will turn out. The Russian fans will turn out, and people, and the mystique and the follow of him is huge. And so I think you get the same feel with Khabib. I think that Khabib could sell out Staples right now. So he'd sell out the Staples Arena. He'd sell out Madison Square Garden. I think he would sell out, I want to say it's the United Center there in Chicago. So all those arenas, I think he would sell out just fine.
So while we're on like the whole Conor Khabib thing, and like Dylan Dennis being in Bellator and being a part of this whole thing, Coker's been talking about more cross promotional fights. I don't know the Ryzen 15 one that he's talking about. You probably
that's coming up. They've got King Mo fighting in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was not the year-end show that that Darren Caldwell fought in. but it's
okay.
rising. This one's coming up here shortly, I believe. And King Mo, I know, is slated to fight in it.
So just with like the trades recently,
Yeah.
We talked about another possible. Oh, we talked about DC and Ryan Bader, right? And like how that's there's just been like some media talk there, and then obviously now with Dylan Dennis being in Bellator, and then like there's definitely money to be made with Dylan Dennis fighting one of Khabib's guys. Just like, what's your thought on like the longevity, like the kind of bigger picture of like cross promotional fights?
Okay, so two things. To talk about the DC and Bader fight will never happen. Okay, would we like for it to happen? 100%, we would like for it to happen. I'm obviously friends with DC. I work for Bellator and I support Ryan Bader. I would love to see that fight happen. It will never happen. I mean, realistically, if I was to go back over the last fight when Ryan Bader became the champ, I should have sat down at that table and basically called out Dana White and been like, hey, we've seen that Scott Coker's willing to cross promote. We've already seen it. Dana White is not. Is he trying to protect his fighters? Fuck yeah, he is. Now, do I think that DC maybe can beat Bader? There's a good chance. Just the styles themselves. Ryan Bader's a very good wrestler. DC's a very good fighter. A very good wrestler as well. Better wrestler than him. Like night and day wrestler. In the power, we've seen DC at heavyweight with the power. Are they fighting at 205 or are they fighting at heavyweight? Do they fight both times? Do they fight two times? One at 205, one at heavyweight. Where do they fight? There's so much going on in there, and there's other fighters I would love to see. I'd love to see Patricio fight Max Holloway. I'd love to see that fight. Patricio's nasty good, man. Yep. There's a lot of these fights that I would love to see. Will they ever happen? No, they will not. Dana White will not cross promote with Scott Coker. And we've seen already that Scott will go with Ryzen. He will also, I know that I think there's already been talk and conversation and reaching out to saying like, hey, let's try and maybe put this fight together to the UFC. And I don't think there's been a call back. Scott is, he's into the actual martial arts aspect of it and wanting to see these guys fight. Like and I don't want to call Dana White like not a true promoter. He wants to see the best guys fight the best guys. And he's always wanted to see that. And then there's no reason for him to send Darren Caldwell over to Ryzen and fight in a ring when Darren Caldwell has never fought in a ring before and say, hey, let's have him fight your guys' champion and my champion fight. There's no reason for him to do that. He doesn't need to do that. And the fact that he did it and he's done it and they're gonna turn around and now there's a cross promotion like, hey, your guy's gonna come over and fight, in a cage. I think it's great, man. It's great for the sport. I think what he's doing when he did that right there, he set precedent for the Ali Act. Because the Ali Act, what it does is it puts into play like, hey, my champion versus your champion, and we go from there. Sure, the title still stays with my champion here in our division if you beat him, but then maybe we do another cross promotion. My guy now goes over there, we give it a couple months, say 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, and we refight again over in your organization. Look, there's something to be said about fighting at somebody else's home. It's like when you have wrestling duels, you're going to go there. There's something about the crowd. I loved fighting in San Jose after the very first time I ever fought there. It was like I didn't want to fight anywhere else. I hated traveling to fight. I was like slept in my own bed, made my own breakfast, did all my own things. Dude, I didn't want to leave my house. So I think there's something to be said. Like every fighter, when you get to the top, when you're talking champ versus champ, the champ. When you get to that, you're that little advantage of you're fighting in my hometown, you're fighting in my hometown, or you're fighting in my home cage, you're fighting in my organization. It just makes those fighters fight a little bit harder. It makes them fight a little bit better. It makes them, and then it also takes away from that fighter who's fighting in that other organization. It takes something away from them, like, oh man, it makes them delay a little bit. It's just different. It's just different. They get a little bit more jittery. It's just something you're missing that excitement of the, as a fan, you have to understand what that fighter who's going to another organization is going through. They're not used to, when Darren Caldwell went to Japan, and I went over there to Japan and fought, Kawajiri. no one there speaks English. They're interviewing you like, you know, you have a translator, and it's like, it's different. Everything is different. You're trying to find food, you know, that you're comfortable eating the week up to the fight. You don't want to get sick. And not that the food's not good. You just don't know what to order.
Yeah.
You know, like the sushi there is not like the sushi here, bruh. It's different. So you just got to find places you can eat without, you know, ruining, like, you know, getting upset stomach. Dan Henderson talked about it a couple times. Like every time I went to Japan, Dan's like, a couple times he's all, I would get sick. I would get food poisoning. He's like, it's just because my body wasn't used to eating that food. Yeah. You know, and you hear about it all the time about, like, you know, fighters that have gone. The guys, there was the organization, I couldn't remember what it was called. Anyways, it was in India, and some of the fighters went over their fight, and then they ended up getting like really like sick from the food. And it wasn't anything that was wrong with the food. It was just that your body wasn't used to eating that kind of food. And that sucks, to go and travel across the world, train 8 weeks for a fight, and then get there. And then all of a sudden you feel like shit when you've been feeling like, man, I had the best camp of my life, and you get there and you're like, shit, I'm sick from food poisoning. Forrest Griffin said he hated traveling to other areas or other countries to fight because he's like, no, I cut a lot of weight. He's like, and my diet is, I'm on a strict diet. He's like, no. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not traveling around. I only wanted to fight in Vegas. So, anyways, that being said, where are we at? We were talking about
just
the cross promotion. Yeah. The cross promotion on this whole deal. I would love to see it. I think it would be amazing to see it. I mean, realistically though, there's not a lot of the top fights that I would like to see. I would like to see Patricio fight Max Holloway. I would like to see who else? Who else do we have? I'd like to see Roy McDonald fight T. Wood again. I'd like to see that fight. You know, and I'd like to see Ryan Bader in DC. Those are the two fights. Now, if Minikoff fights and beats Czech Congo in Bellator coming up, if Minikoff beats him, Minikoff, I want to say, is 23-0. 22-0. So if Minikoff is 22-0, there is without a doubt, I would want to see him fight. I would want to see him fight whoever the UFC heavyweight champion is, whether it's DC, whether it's Cain Velasquez, whoever it is. I would want to see him fight. So that's a fight that I would want to see. Other than that, I mean, that, you know, those are be really the only fights I wouldn't mind seeing the Julia Budd fight again. The Julia Budd fighting Amanda Nunes. That fight would be a good fight to see. Or maybe a Julia Budd / Chris Cyborg fight. I'd like to see that fight as well.
Look at Nunes with the champ belts, man.
Who?
Nunes
with the champs. That's fucking dope though, man. I love to see history being made. That was awesome. That was awesome.
Let's see. Conor has claims against him that he is someone's kid's father and not Dee's.
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, just to be honest, I mean, hey, you know, you're a superstar, man. He's out there slaying pussy. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing, man. The guy's doing what he does. People were trying to tell me that he's not married. Is he married?
No, he's not married.
Oh, so he's not married, but he has 2 kids now, right? With her. Yeah. That doesn't make. I mean, like, I feel. I don't know. Maybe it's not a big deal in Ireland, but.
Yeah, I don't think. I don't know.
You would think though, after being, you know,
maybe he just wants to protect his fortune first, and then.
Well, I mean, he said it a bunch of times. He wouldn't have a fortune really without her. So, wow, you're one of those you don't need women kind of thing. It's a weird vibe. You get a weird vibe. I get a weird vibe from you.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're kind of a sexist, bro.
I'm not sexist at all. I'm just saying, like, he made his fortune. If he marries her, she's guaranteed. Dude, the Amazon thing.
But she should be like. I mean, they've been together since before.
Yeah, but he also clearly has no intentions of leaving her. So, you know. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, D.
Wow. Because for a while there, when he was first starting his career, she was feeding him.
Yeah, he didn't bite the hand that fed him. He just played.
No,
played
hey,
really good
I'm
ball.
not gonna even get into that. That's funny though. It is funny though. To me, I think, hey, whatever their relationship is between them, man. That they obviously got it worked out, and they seem like they're happy. They just had their second baby. Congratulations. That's something special, man. So that's good.
Bellator on the rise with the new record in viewership.
Yeah, it's good.
1.5 million in Paramount.
It's growing, man. It's growing. It's going to take some time. I mean, Scott's been in charge now, I would say, about 3 years, maybe a little bit over. And just so everyone knows, Strikeforce didn't even start doing really well until about 5 and 6 years, right before the UFC had bought them. And that's why Silicon Valley Entertainment had reached out to the UFC and said, look, now we're profitable. Now we're making it, let's are you guys interested in buying? That was kind of, that's what investment companies do, right? You buy a company, you get them to start making money, and then maybe you reach out to a company that is a little bit bigger, or a company that has money, and says, hey, you want to buy this? And that's kind of how it all starts, man. And but now the thing is that Viacom owns Bellator, and
Isn't that different though? Like where
well,
Viacom
no one's gonna
already
buy
owns?
no one's gonna buy Viacom.
Yes, I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
But could they buy the rights to Bellator from Viacom?
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard though. I think it would be kind of hard because I think with Viacom, it seems like they're in it to win it. I mean, all my conversations with them, obviously they're not going to tell me anything when it comes to that type of stuff. I mean, we're talking, billions of dollars. I don't see it going anywhere. Just my honest opinion. I don't see it going anywhere. I think they're around for a while. They've got some good deals that they've been working on, from what I understand. That may catapult them even more to doing what they're doing. The fact that I think that Scott is willing to cross promote and to help build his brand, worldwide, it's helping the company grow, and we're seeing the numbers of it being increasing and being shown. I think is good. I think it's amazing. I'm excited. I'm excited for what the future holds for Bellator. I think there'll be a lot of new hype, I think, coming up too. I know there's a lot of UFC fighters that have been talking about coming over. They're just waiting to fight out their last fight, and I think we'll see exactly what happens after that. So
here's a funny one. This is gonna be a quick one. So Dana White responds to Oscar De La Hoya saying, because Oscar says he wants to fight him, right? Dana says, "Oh, I'll fight you, Oscar," and then he's like, "Oh, but," and then he like kind of laughs and he's like, "Nah, I wouldn't fight Oscar in a boxing match. Are you joking me?" But then he comes out and says he'd like to fight some media guys.
Yeah.
So he'd like to fight little nerds behind a laptop. Come on, Dana, I got you, buddy.
Yeah, he doesn't want to fight Oscar De La Hoya. 50-year-old Oscar De La Hoya would still start you, bro. No, I mean, like, let's be real. I mean, you're taking someone who's never fought and you just teach cardio kickboxing. It's not the same. It's not the same. You can't get in good enough shape. Oscar could be coked out of his mind and not train for 10 years, and he'd still come in there and still spank you. Just the relaxation that someone like him has in the ring, and and he could get in good enough shape in a 3-week or 4-week period to smash you. So yeah, definitely not. But I could understand his frustration though. To touch on it, I could definitely understand his frustration with the media. So the media is it gets on you, man. It does wear on you. It's taxing. It's frustrating. It's all those things, And the thing with him is he's got to be in front of the media all the time, and he puts himself in there a lot as well. But yeah, I don't. It's got to be frustrating. It's got to be frustrating to deal with these guys. It's crazy. Some of the things that they say and some of the sound bites they use and some of their headlines, it's all clickbait, and it gets a little frustrating, I bet. And if you're running a multi-billion-dollar company like he is, it's got to be very frustrating, man. I feel it's horrible. So it is what it is.
You've ripped on the media a few times when they've interviewed you.
Yeah.
I remember seeing one where you're like you're being interviewed at AKA, I think, and you're like, yeah, I don't really like talking to you guys because you all just talk shit.
Yeah, because all they do is they do clickbait, man. It's clickbait, and then some of the stuff that you actually say has the clickbait on it, the headlines is nothing. It's not really what you said, you know?
Yep.
So.
All right. I think last thing I can really find here is that top upcoming 5 fights for February. you wanna run down them?
Yes.
Okay. So number 5 being Francis Ngannou versus Cain Velasquez.
How the fuck is that number 5?
It doesn't have to be in any particular order, does it?
Oh, okay. As long as it's not named. If you're trying to tell me that's
The bottom of the 5?
Are you fucking kidding me? No way. That's like up there, I would say, with like 1 or 2.
What's number 4?
No, that's number 4. What's number 4?
Aldo
we just saw that one last night.
Yep. And then,
That really wouldn't have been on my list at all.
And then, okay. And then that's a good one.
See, MVP and Daly. We'll go back to the other one that was number 3. So what was it? Muikano or whatever his name was? Go back up to number 2 or 5, 4. There you go. So Jose Aldo and Moicano, that fight to me, it would have been kind of on my list, but it wasn't like top of my list for me to see. It was a good fight. You know, I watched it last night, and I'll talk more about that tomorrow. We have a special guest tomorrow who will be stepping in for Sammy. Just a friend of mine, someone who likes to talk fights, but funny as fuck, and you know, and it's just a different personality. You guys may like him maybe more than Sammy, so you guys can comment in the comment section on how well you like him. Anyways, look, so the Moicano fight and Aldo fight was a great fight. I'm not going to get into it, but it wasn't. I wouldn't put it on my top 5 fights that I wanted to see for February. Go ahead and scroll down. What was this? I don't even. So Santos, yes, I want to see that guy fight as much as I possibly can. But just to be honest, I'm going to be very upfront with you guys. I've never seen the other guy fight. What's his name? Blachowicz?
John Blachowicz, yeah.
John Blachowicz. I've never seen him fight. So I'm sure it's going to be a good fight. Santos is so fun to watch, man. Santos is so fun to watch. His last fight was amazing. Okay, go ahead. Next one. Now this one, MVP and Paul Daly. Look, this fight has all the potential of being a great fight, but it also has all the potential of being a fucking sleeper. Like what I mean by sleeper is, Daly not Daly, but MVP may just be too fast for him, too long for him. Just stick and move, frustrate Paul Daly, and Paul Daly's just going to basically do what Paul Daly does. When someone doesn't stand in front of him and bang with him, or someone tries to take him down, he just starts throwing fits and kind of Paul Daly wears his heart, he wears his emotions on his sleeve, man. He's going to stand there and maybe throw a fit. You saw it with John Fitch. You saw it with Josh Koscheck. They just kept wrestling him, and he's like, oh, this is the kind of fucking fighters you guys want to sign. These are the kind of people that you want to match me up against with, someone who just wants to wrestle, fuck me to death. Well, MVP's not going to do that, but MVP may do the opposite of that. He may stick and move, and wait for you to make a mistake and try to knock you out. But if you never make a mistake, Paul, and you just keep coming in and just kind of stand in the center of the ring and never really commit to anything because you don't want to get knocked out, it could end up being a really boring fight.
Are you going to be at that show?
Where is that one?
Mohegan
Connecticut?
Sun?
Yeah, I'll be there. I will be there. I will be working the desk for that show.
What's the one the night before? Is there one the night before?
There is one the night before. There's one on the 15th and the 16th. Yes.
In Connecticut, both?
Yes, both the Mohegan Sun. 2 different cards, 2 different shows. Next fight, Robert Whittaker and Kevin Gastelum. This fight does absolutely nothing for me. I would actually want to see more of the Adesanya and Silva fight than I would want to see the Whittaker-Gastelum fight. I'm assuming, but they're just saying Whittaker-Gastelum. I mean, maybe they're saying the card. That's the only thing I could think of. I prefer to see the Whittaker. I prefer to see
top
the
5
Adesanya.
fights.
Yeah, maybe it's the cards that they're talking about. But other than that, I mean, what other fights are there that are out there that I really wanted to see? Yeah, I think that
February, these are the big ones.
Yeah, and just in February. That one to me right there should be probably number 1. Ngannou and Velasquez. Come on, man. Kane has a fight. I'm not being biased. I'm not being biased right now. No, I'm not. He hasn't fought in 3 years. I want to say close to 3 years. Okay, Ngannou's actually figured out a little bit of the key to the wrestling, getting in a little bit better shape since losing to Stipe and having a really shitty fight against Derek Lewis. He went out there. I want to say he just beat Curtis Blades, right? Curtis Blades, good wrestler. Maybe not as good a wrestler as Kane. And the intensity, Kane's going to push the pace. Let's see if he figured out the conditioning aspect of, making sure he can get in shape. I don't think there's a heavyweight in the world. I don't think there's a 155-pounder in the world that can get to Kane's conditioning. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. I'm telling you right now, sure, he's periodically trained. I train with him. He's periodically trained for the last, 2.5 years. But he has not been sparring hard. He's not been doing like real intense training. Okay, he's still been hitting mitts hard. He's still been, like shadow boxing, and he's doing bag work hard. He's been coming and giving a couple rounds to DC here and there when he needed, for his fight camps. But this guy, after the 2.5 years of basically like kind of just, getting some easy workouts in, has come in within 3 weeks, is now sparring, 5 hard rounds and already in phenomenal shape. The guy's I have no idea how to explain his conditioning. His conditioning is insane, and it's nuts, man. I can't explain it. I can't explain how he does it, but more power to him, man. I think to me, when people talk greatest heavyweight of all time, I think Cain Velasquez, what could have been had he not been plagued with injuries. That's all I think. That's all I think of is that. And that's kind of what we have to talk about, I think, today. And I will touch base again maybe tomorrow for sure tomorrow, with the follow-up on the UFC that happened on ESPN+. All right? Thanks for listening to Punk's Opinion. If you guys have any comments, leave them down in the comment section on the YouTube, iTunes, any of those things. Also, hit that subscribe button, dude. Hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be trying to do more of these as much as I possibly can. I know we talk about it all the time, but producer Dave, wife, new baby, all those things. So it's kind of hard for me to get out the house sometimes. So he did it all. He did it all real fast, real quick. Had a baby, got a wife, got a baby, and a new house all within the last 2 months. So he's trying to handle his business. Once he gets all settled in, maybe we can start dropping a good hour's
sleep.
Yeah. Once he can get a good hour's sleep. So that's awesome. It's awesome to see, and I'm excited. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button.
Were you watching Super Bowl?
I have a family baby reveal party that they're throwing as a Super Bowl party.
Oh, really?
So it's pretty funny. But, also, yeah, that was great. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me at The Real Punk on IG, Twitter, and follow my Facebook, Josh the Punk Thompson. We're out, bro.